Hello everybody and welcome back to another Unrestricted Sports video. Today is just me, Nolan, talking top 10 NFL coaches going into the 2020-2021 NFL season. Before I start my list, I have 3 honorable mentions, and those are Sean Payton, Mike Zimmer, and Matt LaFleur. I'm sure you can understand why I have at least 2 of those guys there. Moving on, I'll start at number 10, and I'll come back to why I don't have Sean Payton on the top 10 list. We're coming in number 10. I have Pete Carroll, who is the head coach currently for the Seahawks. He's been with them since 2010. He wins about 60% of the games he coaches. And I think next season he's got a very solid running back committee and the same offense and the same defense as long as they can re-sign Clowney. So as long as they get that done, I think it's going to be a very good year next year for Carroll and the Seahawks. Coming in at number 9, I have a little controversy here, but Sean McDermott. He's been with the Bills since 2017. He wins just over 50% of the games that he coaches for the Bills. But the reason I have him on here above Sean Payton is that the Bills have only made two playoff appearances this entire century, and both have come underneath Sean McDermott. And they came over the course of 3 seasons. Now, obviously, it takes time to get the talent that Sean McDermott is coaching, but it still requires some competent coaching to get a team to that place in the playoffs, or at least to consistently make the playoffs. So I think with Tom Brady gone, and Cam Newton or Jarrett Stidham coming in, I think the Bills have a much better shot of winning that division and quite possibly making a Super Bowl run. And yeah. So coming in at number 8, I have John Harbaugh. He is the coach for the Ravens. He's been the coach for the Ravens since 2008. He wins just over 60% of the games he coaches. He's just been good his entire time in Baltimore, to be honest with you. He reached the AFC Championship his first year as a coach. He won the Super Bowl in his 5th year as a coach. He got 14 victories in a season the 12th year as his coach. He's just full of accomplishments throughout the extremely competitive AFC North. Now, most of the time, he's had Joe Flacco as quarterback, but now Lamar Jackson's here, MVP, so I think as long as Lamar Jackson can stay healthy and that offense can be dynamic, I think that John Harbaugh could continue to have a very impressive coaching career. This upcoming season, it'll be interesting to see how the Ravens offense adjusts, because towards the end of the season, you could kind of see the Ravens offense slowing down a little bit. So I think the way John Harbaugh handles that is going to be very interesting and something to definitely watch out for. Coming in at number 7, I have Kyle Shanahan, the coach for the San Francisco 49ers. The reason I have him a little bit lower than you might think is just because of his record. He's below 500 as a head coach. He's only been with the 49ers since 2017. But this upcoming season, the team's healthy. Jimmy Garoppolo is obviously healthy still. They reached his first Super Bowl as a head coach last season. John Lynch, who's helping Kyle Shanahan form that super good team, is still there. And I seriously think that with Matt Breida gone, it's going to be a very different running back room, and I think it's going to be much improved. And I'm very curious to see how Kyle Shanahan transforms Jimmy Garoppolo into a much better passer, or at least a more consistent passer, because I would assume that the offense would have to change to some extent in this upcoming season. Coming in at number 6, I put Sean McVay. He's been the coach for the Rams since 2017. He wins almost 70% of the games that he coaches with the Rams. I think the only reason Jared Goff is a successful quarterback, or somewhat successful of a quarterback, is because of Sean McVay. and his play calls and the manipulations of the play calls based off of his defense. Obviously, you have to attribute some of that to his offensive line and Todd Gurley, especially in the 2018-2019 season, I believe it was. But I think without Todd Gurley and maybe a different running back, I forget who that running back is at the moment, but with the loss of Brandon Cooks and Todd Gurley, I think that offense is going to change a lot. I think Sean McVay is definitely the coach where you wouldn't expect that offense to really suffer with those two guys leaving. If anything, I would expect it to almost get better. But his creativity is why I have him so high on this list, especially seeing what he turned Jared Goff into, and that is a successful Super Bowl quarterback. Not Super Bowl winning, but Super Bowl contending. Coming in at number 5, maybe a little biased here, but I have my reasons for it. Coming in at number 5 is Matt Nagy. He's been with the Bears since 2018. He wins just about 63% of his games. He's got a 20-12 record. And the only reason I have him so high is because he is 20-12 with Mitch Trubisky as his starter. He made the playoffs his first year as the Bears head coach, and he had a 8-8 season last season with the Bears. Obviously, you have to attribute some of the success to the defense, but at the same time, you can't make the playoffs with a bad offense. So even though Mitch went 500 last season, I still think even if Nick Foles doesn't get the starting spot in the upcoming season, I think Mitch Trubisky is going to have enough development and enough time this offseason to really fully recover from his injury he suffered earlier in the season, this season, to continue and bolster Nagy's play-calling genius that he learned from Doug Peterson and Andy Reid, because that coaching line is pretty impeccable, to say the least. But definitely watch out for Matt Nagy and his play-calling, no matter who the Bears quarterback is. And the only reason I have him this high is because he is a very winning head coach with Trubisky as his starter. Speaking of the Andy Reid coaching line, coming in at number 4, I have Doug Peterson. He wins about 60% of his games as the Eagles head coach. He's been with them since 2016. And I have him very high, obviously, because I'm very big on the Andy Reid coaching line. But what he's been able to do with and without Carson Wentz. Obviously won that Super Bowl with Nick Foles. But then what really impressed me last season was the inconsistencies that the Eagles had at wide receiver. Carson Wentz had a very good season last season. I think he threw for over 4,000 yards, but none of his receivers had over 500. You have to attribute that to, obviously, receivers being good at what they're supposed to do, but also Carson Wentz's ability to place that ball where the receivers need it. The Eagles went 8-8 or 9-7, I think, last season, and they remained one of the most efficient offenses. To be honest with you, if they didn't have an unhealthy wide receiver core or ones that couldn't catch balls, so like in this upcoming season, when they do have receivers that can catch footballs from Wentz, I think that they will be a much better team record-wise, and definitely have control over the NFC East. So I'm looking forward to see what Doug Peterson and Wentz can do with a good wide receiver core. Coming in at number 3, I have Mike Tomlin, who is the head coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He wins about 65% of his games with the Steelers, and he's been with the Steelers since 2007. And he has had his fair share of quarterbacks, most notably Ben Roethlisberger, but recently Mason Rudolph and Delvin Duck Hodges, especially last season. But you look at what he's been able to do with Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell and all the Super Bowls and contending with Tom Brady and that tough AFC. It's very impressive to see what Mike Tomlin's been able to put together there, especially with Mason Rudolph and Delvin Hodges under center. Obviously, you have to attribute some of that to the defense, and the Steelers' defense is very, very, very solid. But to win the games they won last season with your third and fourth string quarterback is damn impressive. And last season, it's not like they just played bad teams and beat bad teams. They had notable opponents. They had the Ravens twice. I think they had the Seahawks and the 49ers as well, and they're all big-name teams. And Mike Tomlin definitely this upcoming season is going to have more to prove because he's got Ben Roethlisberger, who I think is a better quarterback than Rudolph and Hodges. So this upcoming season, I definitely foresee them doing much better than last season, unless that division is just unbeatable because the Ravens have it too wrapped up. But I think if anybody can dethrone the Ravens, it's Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Coming in at number 2, I don't think these last two are going to be a shock to anybody by any means, but coming in at number 2, I have Andy Reid. Definitely the second best coach of all time. Comes in with a 62% win percentage. Been coaching the Chiefs since 2013. I think it's pretty obvious why Andy Reid is up here. It's not because of the Super Bowls he's won. It's just because of, like I've mentioned multiple times, his coaching line. Most of the head coaches that have learned from Andy Reid turn out to be successful. In my top 5 head coaches that this video is about, 3 of them are related to Andy Reid. Andy Reid being one of them, but you know what I'm saying. He's made the playoffs 15 of 21 years as a head coach, with many quarterbacks like Donovan McNabb. He made it with Michael Vick, Alex Smith, obviously Patrick Mahomes. Reid's resume is with this Super Bowl is complete, but with Mahomes and this current new contract that Mahomes got, I foresee that being the first of many Super Bowls for Andy Reid and that Chiefs organization. Coming in at number 1, I don't think this is a shock to anybody by any means, but it's Bill Belichick. Almost 69% win percentage with the Patriots. Been with them since 2000. And obviously, you get into this whole Patriots debate of Tom Brady or Bill Belichick. I won't indulge in that argument. Me and Brandon have already discussed it in an earlier video. But as of right now, it's unknowable. We'll find out this season. I think adding Cam Newton was very good for the Patriots and Belichick. But the reason Belichick is at number 1 is he's the backbone of the Patriots, really. Belichick is the backbone of what is now the 10th straight 11-win season, and 16th 11-win season in 20 years. That includes 2008 when Brady tore his ACL. It'll be interesting this season to see how he utilizes Cam Newton or Jarrett Stidham, because it essentially is the same team with a different quarterback. I think Bill Belichick, if any coach can figure it out, it's definitely Bill Belichick. So that's definitely something to look forward to. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to follow us on all of our socials. They'll be linked down below. And make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and let me know how wrong I am and why. So I'll see you guys next time. Peace.